But there is a very loud presence on the internet that just, it was almost like she was just sitting there waiting,
checking.
You know exactly
checking
what I'm talking
daily.
about.
Yes.
At the reunion.
Listen, sure did. A win is a win. A win is a win. That's why I'm happy for you, girl, because look, you win, we win, I win.
Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lex, and I would greatly appreciate it if you want to support me or support the channel if you would consider liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. It helps to get the videos out there and it inspires me to keep creating. If you're not sure yet whether or not you want to subscribe, there's a lot of content on this channel. I cover a lot of different things. Y'all already know why we are here today, okay? Y'all know ordinarily after the seasons of these shows are done, I don't really talk about it unless it is people that I was very invested in. And as we know, Ashley and Tyler, also known as Liler, they recently announced their divorce, their split, and Ashley decided that she was going to go on AD's podcast. In the interest of fairness, I wanted to give everybody's take a shot to be here on the channel. I put a whole bunch of other takes on this channel during the time this was going on, and I'm not gonna hold you. I really wanted to hear what Ashley was going to say. I was very interested to hear if there was any growth from Ashley, if there was any accountability, and I really wanted to see how this is going to be. So we're gonna go through it. I really recommend go watch the podcast in full. It is on AD's channel, What's the Reality? But I'm going to touch on the parts that I thought were interesting, give my takes, might be a clip here or there. So strap in, let's jump in, let's talk about what Ashley has to say about everything, because she called out everybody. She calling out Tyler, she calling out social media people, she calling out specific YouTubers, which she's already called that YouTuber out. Y'all already know who I'm talking about. And I love her channel, by the way. Okay, this is no shade to her. I absolutely love her content. I think she is phenomenal. But she called her out. Okay, she's calling out everybody. So did Ashley take accountability? Stay tuned. Let's talk about it. Okay, so before we jump into the interview, I do want to say this. I really wanted to watch this interview from a perspective of having empathy for Ashley. I think that regardless of the circumstances at hand and the way that Ashley came at a lot of different people, I imagine it must be extremely humiliating and embarrassing to have your husband be put on Front Street like this, to also find out on a public stage and on a public forum that you have been lied to. I think that I wanted to watch this and have empathy. I really did. And you know what? In the first half, there was a little bit of me where I was like, okay, I kind of am seeing that wall comes down. She cries a little bit when she talks about certain things. But by the end of this, I was like, girl, I'm not, it's not giving to me that Ashley has learned her lesson yet. Another side note, AD, she does not pay attention to this stuff. AD even admitted that she did not watch Bry's video. She didn't know about anything. She needed to actually have Ashley explain to her everything that came out. So keep that in mind. When it comes to this interview, I don't know that AD really had the appropriate background knowledge to actually ask the good questions. But let's jump into what they talked about. So they start off this interview kind of discussing what has been going on with Ashley, what she's been experiencing.
Yeah.
To be
Say
vulnerable
anything,
and say anything for fear of it being picked apart and being another tagline after things have kind of calmed down. But then I was like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Like, this is like, you know, it's months later at this point. So I still get a little bit of that. And you just have to kind of find.
She opens up about how she has been filing for divorce recently and things have been going well, but she has been finding herself and overall just using this time to find herself, come out of this, learn to be single. Now, she does talk about how the 6-month mark of when she filed for divorce, I think they lived in Virginia, so I do believe Virginia still has the 6-month limit. I'm very familiar with Maryland, where you can actually just get a divorce immediately. But I do know that Virginia, I believe, has a limit of 6 months. So that 6-month limit is coming up pretty soon. She does talk a lot about how Tyler has been making it very, very hard to try to get back at her. He hasn't been meeting deadlines on time. She even admits that she offered to give Tyler the money, to Zelle him the money, so that way he could go ahead and file these papers. He hasn't been responding to the lawyers. So Tyler has been feeling very, very bitter and very, very upset. She admits that when she put the message out, put the statement out, she didn't tell Tyler. She said, hey, I'm done with this. I'm not doing this. She put the message out that they were getting divorced, and then she hopped on a plane, and we saw that he also gave his response at some point. But this was not an orchestrated thing that they really talked about. Hey, as a team, we're putting this out here. So right now, there is animosity between them. Multiple times during the interview, AD asks, have you spoken to Tyler? Have you spoken to Tyler? And they have not spoken ever since the divorce initially started. They were living together, but they haven't spoken since then. The only time they really spoke is when he came to pick up his items from Ashley's apartment. That is another thing that Ashley clarified on here, that she doesn't say it outright, but she basically says that at one point she was sleeping in her bedroom and he was sleeping on the couch because he had to legally give him a 30-day notice to get out. Meaning that this was her apartment and Tyler had moved into that place. So that's a little bit of the start, where Ashley talks about how this has been a healing journey for her, how she's been growing, how she's been really trying to find herself and disconnect from the internet. And I'm like, okay, girl, okay. She talks a lot about how even though this is the right decision to get divorced, it still does not hurt. And for her, while being single is not necessarily something that is challenging for her, she says she thrives when she's single. She does a great job. You know, she's somebody who really, really is her best self when she's single, and she's fine with being alone. So she claims. I'm like, okay, Ashley, you are going real hard for this man if you are so okay with being alone, but I digress. She says, though, that what's hard for her is that she misses being part of the wives club. She feels that when you are married and you have kids, that people treat you differently and that they believe you're an adult. And I was like, okay. So status. And I'm not going to hold you. I saw a comment on the video that was like, she from the DMV and all they care about is status. And baby, as a DMV transplant, I cannot lie. That is very true. Okay. I live in DC. I live in the DC area, and baby, status is very big up here. Appearance is very big up here. I'm not saying everybody, obviously. There are wonderful people out here, but I do think that I could believe that Ashley really did love the idea and the concept of being a wife. And we saw that on the show. We saw that in the interviews. We saw that that is really what Ashley wanted in her life, was just to be able to say, I have that ring on my finger. However, she claims that when she was married, her single friends would be like, oh my God, I'm so jealous, girl. Oh my God. But her married friends now are kind of like, girl, you don't know how easy you have it sometimes, that you're single and you can do you. So for her, it's just that grappling with not being a wife anymore, which again, very obvious for how hard she was going for somebody where the evidence was stacking up. We know, baby, that you just wanted to be a wife. We are very, very aware of that. So AD asks her, how have you managed not being sad? How have you managed during this time, the commentary, the emotions, everything that people has to say? Now, she does say that she took a social media break, and Ashley takes a very strong angle during this interview at still taking shots at the internet.
I was being drugged on his behalf as well. So I had this sort of resentment towards him as well in our household. So it shifted.
Taking shots at people, making egregious claims that people wanted to take her and Tyler down. And although people claim they cared about her, they actually didn't. She says that she got hate for her unborn children. She claims that people were wishing bad on her. And so for that, she had to take a social media break, and she disconnected from everything. Now, she claims that her village goes hard for her family, her mom, her friends. friends. So in that respect, taking vacations, just getting away from everything has helped her. And for me, again, I think Ashley, I'm not saying that people should be wishing bad on her unborn children. I'm not saying that people should be sending this woman death threats. But I also think in this interview, and I wish that AD had more knowledge of what was going on, because Ashley also said a lot about the audience. She called the audience stupid. She said a lot about those young children, and they do touch on the children. We're going to get there. But it's not as if everybody came out of left field attacking Ashley. The reason why people started attacking Ashley, and yes, do I think it went too far? I absolutely do. I'm going to say that. I think it went way, way, way too far with the way that some people were attacking this woman, especially for the transgressions of a man. But Ashley also chose to interject and be Tyler's mouthpiece. So that is the reason why people were coming at her. But again, there wasn't really a lot of accountability in this interview about that because AD is not aware. I was like, AD didn't watch this. She doesn't know what's going on. Another thing that sort of rubbed me the wrong way and sort of, I don't know, still just gave me a taste in my mouth that Ashley hasn't really absorbed how much of a part and a role she played in this is the way she talks about therapy. Now, she does admit that she went to therapy. Her words, they don't force me into therapy. And I never thought that I was going to need to go there. You know, I have nothing against therapy. There's nothing wrong with it. That was a phrase she used. I have nothing against it. There's nothing wrong with it. But she always felt that she was very well adjusted, very wise. She says this a lot during this interview. She's well adjusted. She's wise. And it's like, girl, you got played. And that's not to say that you're not well adjusted or wise, but the reality is that everybody has vulnerable points. Everybody has these areas where there are holes and there are gaps. And for as wise and as well adjusted as you claim you are, you do want to be married. And you desperately want to be married. Let's not pretend. You say, oh, you love being single, you thrive when you're single, but you desperately want to be married. And even throughout this interview, she admitted that the part of the reason why she took a lot of this stuff from Tyler was because they were in it. They were locked in. Divorce was never something that she was going to have in her life. So that's the reason why she kept being willing to go through all of this. So for me, it's like, you could be well adjusted and wise, but we all have our shortcomings. And one of hers is that she is so desperate to be married. Because let's be for real, you're not going to take a lot of this stuff for as long as you did and be so loud and so bold, especially for someone you just met, if you're not desperate to be married. Right? And so she talks a lot too about how the internet, she talks a lot about internet hate throughout this video, I gotta tell you. And again, she does take shots at a specific, very amazing sister on this platform. She takes shots at her again, which is crazy work because she took shots at her originally and then she took shots at her again. And I'm like, Ashley, be for real. You found out a lot of information through those videos, but let's try to go in order. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. This is just going to be my conscious stream of thought on this interview. But anyways, going back to therapy stuff, to me, it's like, you do have flaws. And I don't feel like she fully understood that. She talks a lot about how, oh my God, someone who's so wise like her, she's having trouble with the fact that she's always been so wise and that Tyler slipped through the cracks. And I'm like, Ashley, maybe that should make you realize you're not as wise as you think you are. And that's okay. I've been there. I've been there thinking I'm mature for my age. I'm so good at spotting people. And then I had a narcissist play the same, not this, never somebody with a secret kid, 3 secret kids or whatever. But trust me, I've been there too, where I've been in a relationship where I thought I had it and I could read people and he played me like a fiddle for a very long time. And that's okay to admit that you're not as sharp as you think you are. And I think that's the problem for Ashley, is that her attitude has a very big air of superiority, arrogance, being better than people. And I think that's a lot of the reason why people were not feeling her delivery. She actually, when she takes shots at sister. When she takes shots at her, she says, well, these people claim that they were trying to help me, but a big part of it was the delivery. And I'm like, Ashley, your delivery is also trash, though. Even in this interview, you want people to empathize with you, but you're speaking with such an air over everyone that it's not giving what you think it's gonna give. So anyway, that's a little bit of what she's been up to try to heal her mental health. Let's now jump into the kids, because that's the meat and potatoes of this whole thing.
Had sex to conceive the twins.
Yeah.
And so this flips everything around, because it's like one time, same breath, there's so much more to this story than is public knowledge. And because he kept lying, I had to go do my own research. So
I want to talk about this. I'm going to be looking here because I literally want to get everything from my notes and I want to make sure I don't miss it. So they start to talk first about how it impacted the marriage. And Ashley said it impacted the marriage almost immediately. For her, she talks about a lot how she has insomnia and she would stay up all night reading through things, asking questions. And that's what kills me about this whole thing, is that Ashley basically admits that the way she found out the information, the true info, and she still doesn't really say a lot of it, but she says the way that she found out the true info on Tyler and Bri, whether or not he fathered the twins, was because she went through his computer. I'm not saying I don't believe that, but let's give some credit to the women on here who gave you that info, Ashley, because be for real, the way she was talking about staying up all night, scrolling through things, blah, 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 a lot of the words she said were very similar to information presented in these videos. Let's not pretend that you did not use that info. Had those women not came out with that info, you would not have known what was going on, and you were never gonna question him. But she says almost immediately it was really, really challenging because it really changed everything in their relationship. She never had this guy that she thought she had in the first place. So for her, it created a lot of strain, even when it came to her unpacking everything. Even during the moments where she was finding out info, it was really, really stressful and there was a lot of strain. And on top of that, he was also really depressed. So for both of them, behind the scenes, behind closed doors, Ashley claims it was rough. They were distant. They were not as close or as intertwined as it seemed. And Ashley really wanted people to know that just because things were not actively going on social media or actively being said on social media, that doesn't mean that there were not things going on behind the scenes. And I can respect and understand that. I think the problem is, again, Ashley takes this angle that the internet just decided to randomly attack her and Tyler because people wanted to take them down. And it's like, no, girl, the internet started to become rampant. And again, do I think some people took it too far? I do. I actually do. But I think that the internet came at you because you acted like you were so superior and you had so much info. I remember she even said, how would you think that I would know, you guys would know more about my relationship than I do? All of this kind of comments, insulting all of our intelligence. And that's why I think people started to get very upset. And then on top of that, you started taking shots at actual people, Ashley. Don't forget, you took shots at actual people. Whether or not you agree that those people did too much or whatever, hey, that's your personal opinion, but you took shots at them. So therefore, of course, people are gonna feel some type of way. So for her, at this point, Ashley was doing really, really poorly. And she said she had 2 major panic attacks, one of which was at 3 a.m. where she was just on the floor sobbing and Tyler took her into his arms and she unfolded into his arms. And it was really a mindfuck, basically, that the man that was putting her through this was also the only one who knew what she was experiencing. So they started to have this trauma bond because there was really nobody else. The whole world was coming at her. And of course, she admits that she felt resentment that people were coming at her harder than they were coming at Tyler, which I don't think is the case. People were coming at you harder because you chose to open your mouth. The reason why a lot of people were confused, Ashley, because I know you watch this content. I know you've been watching everyone's video. The reason why people were confused, sis, is because we were all wondering why you needed to be the mouthpiece and put yourself in the line of fire. Everybody thought, hey, oh my God, this man played the F out of her. This man really F'd with her. We are so worried about you, Ashley. Bri reached out to you. I know that, the person you keep calling out from YouTube, she reached out to you. She said in one of her videos. Multiple other people reached out to you, Ashley. You admitted that people reached out to you and you ignored their messages because they didn't know what they were talking about. Multiple people reached out to you to be a helping hand. But you were so quick to say, that's my husband. That's my husband. That's my husband. And I'm going to stand by him. I'm going to stand by my husband. I'm locked in. I was never going to get okay. So when you choose to become one with someone like that and you choose to take his side over the side of everybody that was worried about you, I don't know what to tell you. The other thing is, Ashley, the way you reference them kids. The way you reference them kids. There was a part where Ashley says, the internet came at me. They always come for me for the way that I refer to them kids. And it's like, girl, yeah. The way you reference those kids, you said he was going to forget about them. They were just not going to be a part of anything. Girl, be for real. Be for real. You had a lot of displaced anger towards those children and towards Bri because you were upset that the man that you thought was the man of your dreams was not that man. But you wanted to forgive him because you wanted to be married. Right? Let's be for real. She tries to say, oh, I thought sperm babies was the right terminology. And I'm like, Ashley, cut the crap. Cut the crap, sis. I'm so tired. What do you mean you thought sperm babies was the right terminology? How would you ever refer? She's like, I think kids are cool. Like, oh my God, I was like worried that, I was hoping no one would get, they wouldn't get bullied because of that. Cause I thought that was the right term. Ha ha ha. Her and AD are like laughing in the interview. I'm like, give me a damn break. Ashley done pissed me off. So they get into, is Tyler really a sperm donor or not?
That's why I'm trying to be careful with what I say because I don't want to tell his story either. But what I feel like, because it's no proof if no one was there in the room with you all. Right. So I don't think that they looked into it any further past him saying, oh, I was a sperm donor. It's like, oh, great. Thank you.
Basically, Ashley says that all he told her was that he was a sperm donor, both on and off camera, that he had no connection with the kids. There was no complexity with it, that he had just donated his sperm for all 3 of those kids. He had also told her that he had not seen the kids in a year, that the mother of the kids, Bri, she wanted to parent the kids with her fiance, Deshawn. Remember, we saw her as well. And that he literally had absolutely no involvement. She mentions that he told her that they had no pictures together, him and the kids, because he was not in their lives. So when the screenshots came out of the Christmas pajamas, that was the very first time that she even realized that he had pictures like that with the kids. So he would constantly lie about all of these little things. And to this day, he still stands on the fact that those twins, he did not parent them. Ashley is still under the impression that he was a sperm donor for the son, and then the twins, he parented them. And I'm like, girl, he was the father of all 3 of those kids. I don't know what to tell you. If that makes you feel better at night, if that makes you cope better at night, fine. He was the father of all 3 of those kids. Now, Ashley says that she went through his computer to find all of this evidence, and she acts very coy about it. She's like, I don't want him to make me someone I'm not. I don't want to tell his story. But she basically says that she does not believe that he is the father. Like, let me say it differently. She believes that he fathered the twins straight up, that they had intercourse, that they actively had those twins together, but she's still under the impression that the son was a sperm donor child, or he was a sperm donor, but now she doesn't know. She doesn't know what to believe. She also claims that Bri's videos came out prior or no, a week after the reunion. So that's why she was acting the way she did at the reunion. She claims that the reason why she had so much mouth at the reunion is because she didn't know anything yet. And I'm like, Ashley, to that I say BS. BS. There was so much that came out prior to that. She claimed she had never seen the screenshots from the mom with the pictures of the kids. And she even tried to say that he must have had everything deleted because that stuff didn't exist and the casting would have never put him on TV if they saw that. And I'm like, Ashley, you knew, you just wanted to ignore it. She does admit that she was hoping that that one thing would come out that would make him innocent. That one thing would come out where she could say, oh my God, he didn't do what he said he did. But girl, it's like she's still standing on she didn't know anything. And I'm like, Ashley, you were on the Vile Files after Bry's videos were released. You were on the Vile Files, trashing Bry and trashing, you know who, and I don't want to put names out there because she didn't put a name, but you were out there trashing, you know who, here from YouTube. Be for real. You can't have this angle of, oh, if Bry had released the videos just a week earlier, I wouldn't have done this. Ashley, there were things being released all throughout the season. You were on social media fighting tooth and nail in the comments, calling people stupid, telling us that we're insulting your intelligence. And I'm like, girl, so... You know, she says even at one point she tried to ask everybody about the kids because she really didn't know, was he the father to these kids, or she's actively involved with these kids. She says even at one point she asked his little niece, hey, like, you know, do you know about your cousins, to see if she would mention his other, like his kids, her other cousins. And I was like, oh my God. So you're asking everybody in the family and ain't nobody give it to you. But to this day, Tyler is still standing on the fact that those twins were not conceived via intercourse. And of course, now Ashley says she does not believe it. So she talks a little bit more about the info she found in the computer and whether or not any of this info sort of validated whether or not he is the father. She says that she found a bunch of Google Meet chats between Tyler and Bry over years. And she doesn't say directly what she saw, but she does say that they had a very messy situation that the two of them created, essentially implying that they knew that they had that baby together, the twins together, and that neither one of them wanted to admit it. She does reference back to how Bry said that she is a lesbian and she's always presented as a lesbian, and so she didn't want to admit that she and Tyler slept together. It was really, really tough for her. So overall, she says that both Bry and Tyler were in agreement of him being the father of the twins. And also he had lied, saying that he had never seen Bry. He hadn't talked to the kids in years. But he and Bry were legitimately together the day before the show. And I'm like, Ashley, that came from the video. That came from the video that Bry did here on YouTube. From the same person you're shading, you got that information from that video. So again, I just think you need to stop it. You know, I'm not saying people should be sending the woman death threats. I'm not saying people should be wishing bad on her, wishing her a life of eternal hell or something. I feel bad for Ashley. I think this is actually awful, but let's be accountable for the way that we presented, and the way that, in the same way you want to take the angle that, oh, all these people on the internet were attacking you as a woman rather than the man that did this. Well, Ashley, you're also attacking these women on the internet and taking zero accountability for the way you came at everyone. So Ashley does say that Tyler did present as that man during filming, after filming even. He was charismatic, he was he did so many things for her. Like I said, remember the coffee, the flowers, all of the things she mentioned. Now, she does say that Tyler did a lot of little things that she blew up to be bigger things because she didn't want to hurt his ego. She realized when they were in the relationship that he was in a really rough spot. And she essentially told him even, why are you getting married? You are not ready to get married. Why are you here? So she realized that she was actually building up a man and she thought she was done with that. But again, because she was married and divorce is not an option, she was locked in, even though she realized she did have to build him up. So AD asks, okay, was it him that was putting the pressure on you to stay, or did you put the pressure on yourself? She admits that she did put the pressure on herself to stay. At this point, this is where she goes into how she hadn't seen the info for herself yet and all of these different things, but she felt like she needed to be there for him. They get into a lot of how even in her darkest times, Tyler let her drown. Tyler literally let her take the brunt of everything, and he did not speak up. And again, Ashley, yes, that is what we noticed from the beginning. You're saying this all happened post-filming. This was happening, well, it did happen post-filming, but you're saying this happened after the reunion. You're saying this happened months later. Girl, this was happening from episode 2. Episode 2, how many people called out the fact that Tyler was not standing up and defending anything? So again, I get being defensive because you're embarrassed. You're embarrassed, you're ashamed. And she does admit that she's embarrassed, that she's ashamed, that she even got to this point. But again, just as you feel there's displaced anger towards you, you also have displaced anger for the public, you know? So they talk about that though, how she would have never spoken so much had the videos already been out. And again, I say there was info out. Literally, I remember episode 2 of the season that dropped. There was info already out. The screenshots were going around from his mom's Facebook page of the kids. So for Ashley, it got so bad that people started calling her job, that people tried to get her fired, and she felt very resentful because Tyler, apparently he didn't have a job. She does drop a nugget in there that he had gotten let go from his job because of a performance review that did poorly. But for her, she did not have the opportunity to not show up at work, to just decide that she was going to be home sad. And the whole time, Tyler was just letting her take hit after hit after hit after hit. The AD is like, when did your discernment kick in? When did it finally get to a point where you realize I can't do this anymore? She claims it was after Bry's videos came out. Okay. She says that she went through his computer and she had found a document because Tyler had lied to her. Remember, the twins had his last name and Bry wanted to file paperwork in order to get the last name changed to hers. Tyler had lied to Ashley and told her, I never knew about that. I had no clue that they had my last name, which is crazy work. Someone has your last name and you didn't know that? That's already a lie. But Ashley had the document on her phone and she basically showed it. If you're watching Cheat, it's like with, what's her name? Olivia showing Liam the messages and him lying. Same thing happened. Ashley literally showed the paperwork and said, did you do this? Your signature is on this paper that I found on your computer, signing off on the whole thing. He tried to say, no, I didn't. Ashley's like, okay, so was your computer hacked? He says no. Eventually down the line, she pressed him about it over and over again. And he said, oh, I just lied about it because I didn't want to get things worse. We were already in such a bad spot. I didn't want to get things worse. And it's like, all this man did was lie. All this man did was lie to her. So finally, she filed for divorce. And as I said earlier, there was no preemptive warning. She says that he's been messing around with it all. And right now, they're about to hit that 6-month mark. And those were, I don't know, that was the main part of this interview for me. When I was watching this, I just hope that Ashley is healing. I do. And when I say healing, I mean, Ashley, you also need to heal from the anger that you have towards the general public. I mean, she's still coming in barking mad. They spent probably 30, 40 minutes of this interview referring back to internet hate. And yet she still didn't have smoke for Tyler. You're sitting here saying, I want to protect Tyler because that was my husband, even though you didn't even know him. And she admits she had no idea who he was, but you have smoke for everyone else. She talks about how the people that claim that they did videos because it was in the best interest of the kids, they were just lying and they became a takedown and it was just clickbait. And I'm like, again, do I think maybe some content went a little too far? I do. I even said it during the season that there was just certain stuff I was not going to cover because I didn't want that on my personal platform. But I think at the end of the day, people were trying to help. And regardless of whether or not the people who you're calling out had good, bad, whatever kind of intentions, the information they provided, you used. You used it. And you used it as reasoning to not be with this man. So you can't sit here and be that mad when, let's be for real, girl, you claim you went on your detective sleuthing skills. Baby, you didn't. You watched those videos. And then you went through his computer afterwards. Anyway, if you made it to this point of the video, that means you liked the video. So I would greatly appreciate it if you would consider supporting the channel by liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. It helps to get the videos out there and it inspires me to keep creating. What did you think about this? If you watched this interview, do you think Ashley is remorseful? Do you, are you feeling empathetic for her? Do you think this gives context to the story? Or do you think that Ashley still hasn't learned her lesson? Let me know what you think. Let's chat in the comments and I will talk to you guys in my next one. Bye.